Hello, my name is Nancy Schnobel and Ems, and I'm with Polished, a professional development company that focuses on soft skills. Is your body language helping or hindering you? That's the question of the day. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Your hand gestures, your facial expressions, the way you sit, the way you stand, they say more about you at any given time than the words you speak. So your body language or your nonverbal communication is the most single powerful form of communications. Believe it or not, it's the most single form of powerful communications. So, when you're uneasy or nervous, your body language becomes more pronounced. We notice that, right? As people watching you communicate, say in a business meeting setting, or when you're giving a report, or whatever the situation is, if you're nervous, your body language is going to reflect that. So we're going to talk a little bit today about how you can really elevate, boost your nonverbal communications so it syncs, so it matches, so it connects, so it builds that rapport, that confidence, that credibility about with your overall communication style. So nonverbal communications and syncing that with your verbal communications takes time and practice. A lot of people feel uncomfortable with using their hand gestures or really making eye contact with somebody or smiling. But if you can use those and really start to incorporate them in your communications, you will be surprised, again, how confident you are feeling, and you'll continue to feel, and how using your nonverbals will be just part of your style of communicating. It'll be wired as part of your DNA. So I like to share a PowerPoint as we get started here, just to kind of walk through some of the critical parts of good body language. Okay, here we go. And start from the beginning here. So as I mentioned earlier, our body language can really hinder or help you. It speaks volumes of the way we present ourselves. Only 7%, only 7% of what we say, are words that come out of mouth, are what people are hearing. It's the 55% and the 38%, the body movements, the face, the arms, your appearance, what you're wearing, things like that. 38% in your voice, your tonality, your inflection, your pauses. These are all forms of nonverbal communications. That's what they're hearing. So again, just being mindful. If you're meeting somebody, maybe it's a senior level management person within the organization, a coworker for the first time, a new employee, you're going out with to lunch with a group of upper management, whatever it may be, your body language can really impact in a positive way when you sync it with your communications, with your verbal communications. So again, this graphic just kind of shows you really the value, the heaviness, the importance of our nonverbal communications. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said, right? That's our nonverbals. So let's think about that for a moment. What isn't said? What if we're sitting at the meeting and it's not our turn to share a report, and we're slunched over, maybe we're yawning, we're maybe dozing off, or maybe we have a pen that we're fiddling with, or we're fiddling with our watch, whatever it is. These are all negative forms of body language, and it can have a negative impact on you as a professional. So that's what this quote kind of refers to. Also, if you're using your body language, but you're flailing your arms around, or maybe your voice intonation is just so constant that it's a little bit a turnoff to people, right? You're modulating your voice up and down so people can't really understand you or keep up with your frantic pace of communicating. Those things are distractions, and people are not going to get your message. So we are going to share, or I'm going to share with you, those really good skill sets of our nonverbal communications that we want to incorporate in our overall form of communicating. So just a little example of what we mean by nonverbal communication. All these little bubbles reflect in some form our nonverbals, the sounds we make. Ohs, those weasel words, those are all distracting, negative forms of body language. Our appearance, maybe we didn't dress appropriately. We didn't know we were going to have to give that report on, you know, travel expenses or whatever they may be. So you would just, again, when you're looking at all these different forms of body language, be mindful and use them to leverage, right? To sync and leverage with your body, your verbal communications. So again, here are some forms of negative or nervous body language. I talked a little bit about them, you know, covering your mouth. Believe it or not, there are people who are experts in body language reading. They'll sit in a courtroom and will be able to identify a person if he or she is lying, for example. And so when you are meeting somebody, you want to try to avoid these negative forms of nonverbal communication. And I want to just take a moment and say, eye contact and smiling. When you use your eye contact, your eyes and connect with somebody, 3 to 5 seconds, maybe 5 to 9 words, that's really good eye contact. And then you can go off to the next person if it's in a bigger room setting. But really engaging, connecting with that person using your eye contact says, you know what? I'm listening to your every word. I respect you. I appreciate what you have to say. And smiling, right? Now, of course, if the conversation doesn't require smiling, you want to be mindful of that. But eye contact and smiling are one of the 2 forms of nonverbal communication that automatically raises your level of confidence, right? People look at you as poised, confident, and you're approachable and genuine. And those are the qualities we want to exude when we're communicating. You know, putting your hands in your pocket, crossing your arms when you're talking to somebody. Again, these are forms of nonverbal communication that could hinder your impression that you're trying to convey. Obviously, swaying, rocking, and pacing is something that we should avoid as well. When you're talking or meeting somebody for the first time, say you're at a networking event, keeping your hands at your side, standing tall, feet shoulder width apart, that's the correct form and shows a very positive form of communicating and using your nonverbals. So once you have your hands to your side, I know it's very uncomfortable. People don't like it. We're not used to it, right? We're used to crossing our arms or you know, maybe putting our hands clasps down below, you know, next to our tummy or whatever it may be. But just again, be mindful that there are ways that people will automatically form an impression of you and then think, when that may not be the case because you are using negative body language. So here's a great example of something that we should avoid. What does this picture tell you? I look at it and I see maybe somebody's nervous, right? They're clenching their hands together. Maybe they're rubbing their fingers back and forth or picking at their fingernails or whatever. That's a sign that says, you know what? I'm not comfortable. I'm really anxious or nervous at this moment. And again, I'm going to go back here. If you look at this image, this is a wonderful picture of a young lady, bless her heart, who is afraid, right? She looks very afraid. How do I know that? Well, she's really keeping her body close to her. She's not, you know, sharing it with the audience. Her toes are pointed in. Her eyes are averted. She's got her head down. Everything in this picture says, I don't want to be here. And let's face it, we've all experienced maybe personally this situation, or somebody, a close friend, a coworker, or somebody that you don't know who has exhibited these kinds of not negative nonverbals. You know what? We're humans. We root for them, right? We don't want them to feel nervous or anxious. So smiling back at them, nodding your head, things like that can help ease that nervousness and discomfort. And I just wanted to take a moment because I did talk about our posture. Posture is huge. People, you don't want to look, you know, so formal with your shoulders back and very stiff like, right? Because then people will look at that as maybe you're nervous, right? So just standing tall, you could have your shoulders rounded a little bit, not slunched over, but just rounded in a comfortable way. But try to keep your back straight when you're speaking and when you're sitting at all times. You should have your feet flat on the floor too. Again, you know, there's so many many tips and techniques out there for people who are job hunting or want a promotion. People in the HR department, they use a lot of behavioral type assessments. And again, by just keeping your back straight, your feet flat on the floor, using your hand gestures, smiling, eye contact, this shows very poised, confident, and proper nonverbal communication skills. Now, of course, we've all been in a situation. Now, this image, she's got her head tilted. She's got her arms crossed. Again, this is hindering her, right? Maybe it's somebody who just doesn't agree, and you're in this team building meeting. Now, this is all contextual, may not be the case, but she's got her arms crossed and she's just not having it. She's just not agreeing. She's got her legs crossed. So when you cross your legs like that, especially for women, that is a negative sign. That says, you know what? I am shutting that idea off. I'm not even going to entertain it. Now, if we want to cross our legs, it's okay remember I said to have your feet flat on the floor. You can cross your ankles and still keep them flat on the floor, relatively so. That's okay to use too, but avoid folding your arms. Again, it's all about the context. If you're in a room which is absolutely freezing, it's okay to rub your arms back and forth, right? And that shows, that's speaking to the audience that it is cold in here. But when you're sitting like that with your arms crossed, your feet crossed, your head tilted, your eyes are kind of eyebrows raised, it's like you're questioning something, you're in disbelief, or you just you're not going there. And similar to this situation, I share this because, sometimes we don't even realize by crossing our arms and just having a face like that, a grimace, or just not a frown, but just a closed mouth look, expression can sabotage you, right? You're not upset, but your body language is sending a different signal. It's telling you it's communicating a different story about yourself. These are all things that we can do. They're things that we can control, right? There's lots of things in our life that we cannot control, but being able to control our nonverbal communications and using it in an effective way, that's golden. That's rock star level. So I have another image here of posture, right? I wanted to share this with you too. We all sit at our desks and we look at our screens, probably too long in a day, but just looking, obviously we know which is the better preference, right? It's the woman who's sitting up straight, her feet flat on the floor, versus the one who's kind of hunched over. Obviously we have back issues, maybe our knee is sore, whatever it may be, that's a different circumstance. And we want to share that with those around us. Pardon me, and that I'm, sitting here kind of in an unprofessional way, but I have a very sore back and I want to not put so much tension on it, or whatever the case may be. But again, this is just an example of using good body language. Now, I wanted to share this with you because people may not realize, now we've all heard about first impressions and how important they are. We get that. But the matter of 5 seconds or up to 30 seconds is all we have for people to already conjure up an image of you. So using your body language in the most powerful, positive way is going to help catapult you to a higher level of success, especially if you really want to make that great first impression. So you have up to 30 seconds, but 5 to 15 seconds, science has said, my brain has already wired you. I've already have an impression about you. And if you really want to keep with that skill set that you're trying to, a body language that you're really trying to perfect and engage in on a regular basis, say it's using your eye contact more, maybe it's the open palm position, whatever it may be, it takes about 3 weeks for that to become a pattern, right? Just like they say, go exercise, do it for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden it's part of your routine. Now, 100 days to keep that skill going. If you do it regularly for 100 days, it becomes part of your DNA. It's automatic, and you won't have to practice it or second think it. It just comes out as part of your personality. So let's just think for a moment. What are situations where you are nervous or maybe nervous for something that's coming up? I want you to to really think about how you can subtly, right, make these small little tweaks in your communication style to benefit your overall communication. So think about a situation and try to adapt those skill sets into some positive nonverbal communications into your style of communicating. And you'll be surprised that people will look at you different. They'll smile, they'll nod, they'll kind of go back and forth because they're engaged, right? We want to engage people. People do business with who they like. Right? And when we show that wonderful presence of you, when it's authentic, when it's you that you're showing them through your nonverbals, it makes a huge difference. I also would like to share this book with you. I've had this for a long time now. It's been out, golly, maybe 8 years or so. It's called Presence by Amy Cuddy. I hope you can see this. The author is Amy Cuddy. She is a behavioral psychologist, teaches at Harvard as a professor. And she did this incredible study. And the reason why I want to share this book with you, because the whole impetus, the whole theme or the essence of this book is how you can tweak or modulate your body language to all of a sudden elevate your confidence. So that's something to be aware of, right? Because we all get nervous. Everybody gets nervous. So if you're feeling nervous, she has done this study. And what she says is go into a closet, go into a bathroom stall, go into your office, close the door, wherever you are, just take up to 3 minutes and close your eyes, stand tall. She calls it the power pose or the Wonder Woman position, the Superman position. You just put your arms to the side like this, like the Superman pose, and you keep your feet shoulder length apart. You close your eyes and you just breathe for 3 minutes. And what she has found through this study is that the cortisol, your hormones, your stress hormones, tend to decrease, and those energetic, those testosterone hormones, they rise and they give you that positive, that energy, that momentum, that confidence that you need. So it's a really helpful book. And I might add, I mean, this is not a infomercial for her at all. I just love it. And it's helped me enormously in gaining confidence in different situations. I will say there's a TED Talk out there too. It's well worth watching. I think it's one of the most viewed TED Talks in TED Talk history, but just take a look at it and she'll do a better job of explaining how you can change the way you move your body in a way that will automatically give you that confidence and poise. The other trick or technique, I should say, when using your nonverbals, especially if you really want to make a good impression, is mirroring. Now, if you see this woman in the graphic here, the two women sitting on looks like a little concrete bench or step or whatever it is, and they both are holding a cup of coffee or something very similar to each other. They're holding it alike. That, my friend, is mirroring. And what that does, as you can see, it builds that rapport. It makes that connection. A lot of us, we don't realize when we're with a good friend or maybe our spouse or a child or whomever, we are mimicking them or we're copying their behavior. It just builds that rapport. And often there's been some science behind this too. When you are meeting somebody for the first time and he or she will say, hey, would you like a cup of coffee? I'm a big coffee lover and this is really hot, good coffee this morning. Even though you don't want the coffee, take the coffee. It shows that mirroring and matching because it builds that link, it builds that connection. And then matching is the other graphic where you see former President Obama, and I should know this person, I think he's English, the England Prime Minister. I could be wrong, sorry. Anyway, so this is when there's a little built-in time lag there. So, maybe President Obama threw his jacket over his shoulder and they're walking, and then, the other gentleman threw his jacket over his shoulder. Again, that's a form of likability. It shows connection, rapport, respect, things like that. It's silly and it may seem uncomfortable at first, but just try it. Again, take practice. It does work and it builds that essential rapport that we all want to have. So I rambled on and I talked quickly. I love, love, love this topic, but I also want to say, again, don't be afraid. Take practice in using your nonverbals. One thing that most of us don't do, but it sure is effective, is pausing. Take pauses when you talk. It not only allows you to collect your thoughts, but it allows you that person to see, wow, she's confident enough just to let that word that she just dropped out of her mouth really stand, have impact or have emotion with her group. So again, pausing, posture. I didn't talk so much about arm gestures, but keeping your palms up is a wonderful way to show inclusion. So when you're having that conversation, hi, I'm glad to be with you today. I loved your speech about that, how we can be more effective using Excel. Really good speech. Again, just engaging yourself, make it authentic, make it your personality. People like that. Don't be afraid to, raise your eyebrows in excitement or, say, oh, I'm so happy for you. That's great news. Things like that really help kind of build that level of confidence, success. And I'm sounding so repetitive, but it really is true. It just builds that level of, that person is a consummate professional. I really like her. I like the way she's very engaging. I like the way she communicates. So no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, getting a leg up with your body language. This is all on you. Nobody is going to force you to make any changes in your style. But if you want to, and you want to improve, you want to put that investment in yourself, take time. What are those 3 things that you want to start, stop, and continue doing? Maybe it's just 1 or 2 things. Maybe it's just 1, whatever it is, just write them down. Journaling is an effective way to get results. And then what are the 3 things you plan to do differently to achieve results? Again, science proves if you write things down, especially if you're dieting or exercising, right, we're more mindful, we understand what we're doing better. This is a great way to help you grow in your nonverbal communication skills. So what are the 3 things you plan to do differently to achieve results? And then challenge yourself. Go out for a month, 2 months, right? Check on those actions. What's the responsibility? Have I really focused on making those improvements? Is my timing right on? Do I need to work on that a little bit more? Maybe it's my weasel words, the uhs, the ums, the knows that I'm using a lot that I'm not really paying attention to. Maybe I need to practice that a little bit more. So it's easy, it's not difficult, but it just takes a little practice. And as I said in the beginning, our nonverbal communication is the single most powerful form of communication. And I encourage you to take some time and practice with your spouse, with your significant other, with a partner, with your friend, with a coworker. Get the feedback from them. Ask them, does it seem genuine? Does it match my communication, my verbal communication? Does it match my communication style, right? These are the things that will help elevate us to a higher level of professional success. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I wish you much success. Bye-bye.